Long ago, in a beautiful kingdom of Hyrule surrounded by mountains and forests, legends told of an omnipotent and omniscient golden power that resided in the hidden land. Many people aggressively sought to enter the hidden golden land, but no one ever returned. One day, evil power began to flow from the golden land. So the king commanded 7 wise men to seal the gate to the land of the golden power. That seal should have remained for all time. But when these events were obscured by the mists of time and became legend, a mysterious wizard known as Argaman came to Hyrule to release the seal. He eliminated the good king of Hyrule. Through evil magic, he began to make descendants of the 7 wise men vanish, one after another. And then, and the time of destiny for Princess Zelda is drawing near. Greetings everybody, it is I am the one and only Pac-Man here, and I am from the likes of the Merxy Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll present to you our next The Legend of Zelda Let's Play. Yes, it has been a very long time, according to what Sonic told me this for about past few days ago. The last time we did on the Zelda game was actually the first game in the series by the forms of The Legend of Zelda on the NES. But here we are now in the forms of 2022, that way we can now able to actually tackle through The Legend of Zelda A Link to the Past. First came out on the Super Nintendo or Super Famicom in Japan. I think it did first came out in 1991 in Japan, and then a year later in the English versions, as far as I can usually recall that. And my god, this game will be 30 years old by then. So anywho, if you recall that correctly, it's the fact that we originally going to be able to do this game along with Super Mario World back in 2018. However though, we had come across into a lot of problems back then. Like for instance, our capture card gets a bit glitched up at certain points, and also the commentary wasn't all that strong. So as a result though, it's better late than never, I suppose. So yeah, let's get to it. And as you can tell from the actual quality standpoint, I'm going to be playing on the actual, well, I was expecting if I was trying to able to play this on the Wii Virtual Console, but unfortunately though, my capture card doesn't seem to able to like that. So, at least as far as component choices and stuff like that. So, but, on the other hand though, luckily I did manage to get the game on the Wii U Virtual Console version, so that way I can able to actually do this Let's Play for you guys. Especially noticeable, it's been about, well, 4 years ago since we actually last did the Legend of Zelda game since the original Zelda 1. So, either way though, now I know you're probably thinking about the fact that, aren't you gonna do Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link? Well, the truth is though, is the fact that I'm not exactly ready for that game yet. Especially noticeable, I haven't exactly completed that game yet either. So, we'll just focus on this for now. So in this case though, and yeah, we've now actually entered my name here, in this case Pac-Man, and of course, much like the first Zelda game, we start things off with 3 hearts, but then the more you continue on, you get more heart containers. Help me. Please help me. I am a prisoner in a dungeon of the castle. My name is Zelda. The wizard Argarim has done something to the other missing girls. Now, only I remain. Argarim has seized control of the castle and is now turning to open the 7 wise men's seal. I am in the dungeon of the castle. Please help me. Pac-Man, I'm going out for a while. I'll be back by morning. Don't leave the house. Okay, whatever you say, I would say his father and stuff like that, so... But let's not get of ourselves for resting in bed, because we're about to start the adventure of the likes of The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. So, yeah, this is actually the forms of, I would say the 3rd entry of the game, specifically when it comes to 2D Zelda games for that respect. So as a result though, right from the get-go, we actually got ourselves a lamp. Now, this lamp will be useful though, especially noticeable whenever we get to the later portion of the game. So in this case though, is the fact that, oh goodness gracious, we start the game off as in, not only do we get out of the house, but also the weather condition is really poor. Like, literally pouring with rain. So, yeah, we got able to do some investigating and stuff like that. And all the while, though, is the fact that we'll try to able to actually grind as many of those rubies as I could. So, hopefully, I could able to actually buy some specific items, potentially. So, yeah, today's day is, of course, the 26th of January today, in this case in 2022 today, so I just want to let you guys the actual specific dates as far as uploading schedules are concerned. So either way though, you probably get the idea about that specific uploading schedules worth noting for, because after all, that Maxi has pretty much taken a break from the likes of the actual Let's Play of, oh, okay, hey, you're not allowed in the castle, son, go home and get some sleep. But I just want to see what really happens. Although, if you somehow manage able to stay for a bit longer on the outside portion, it says, help me, I'm in the dungeon of the castle. I know there is a hidden path from outside of the castle to the garden inside. Okay, so that way, it'll able to give us a hint of where we're supposed to go. So, in this case though, before we do that though, I need to grind more rupees by carrying these bushes. So, because this is now on the Super Nintendo, so this means we have more buttons to work with. So in this case though, is the fact that I believe the A button can allow you to able to pick up things, so, and also tossing on them as well. So, and also, if you probably did not know already, I could assure to you that most people already know this already, that technically speaking, that this game does have a port on the Game Boy Advance, came out in the forms of 2002. Oh yeah, there's a secret in here, which that means that we can now able to actually access to the actual castle itself. Oh, hello. Ugh, Pac-Man, I didn't want you involved in this. I told you not to leave the house. Take my sword and shield, and listen, you can focus power in the blade by holding down the B button. Then release it using the secret technique handed down by our people. Pac-Man, you can do it. Save the Princess Zelda is your... I would say is your destiny and stuff like that. So yeah, we're able to actually access the forms of not only the shield, but also the sword as well. So basically, it's kind of like the forms of Zelda 1, except the controls, especially noticeable with the sword combat, is actually a lot better this time around, which, until when it gets to a point whenever we come across into those knight-like enemies like these ones, thank God we now need able to actually get ourselves our full directions when it comes to likely doing with sword combat, which, the only problem I have with the first game though, I must admit though, especially noticeable that I believe Defi has already mentioned about this, is the fact that the actual controls can be a bit archaic from the actual combat on the first game, but But thankfully, on the forms of this game, the combat looks much more fluid this time around. So, yeah, I guess I'm very happy about that. And by the way, you know with that particular treasure chest that I've already opened up? Well, basically, depending if you're able to actually get something in there, to be more specifically, as you probably already know, that I've already got the lamp from the likes of the actual house. However though, if I grab that treasure chest as you saw, I've got rubies instead. Now, if you manage to able to get the lamp in that castle, you will get the lamp there. So, I'm guessing that might be the only time difference as far as the actual specific route you can take. So, but for me, I always attempt able to get the lamp straight away, so that way I can able to actually just yeah, you know, get most of those items basically. So as you can see, that now that Link has now have the ability to able to actually use the actual spin attack, which you can only do this is the fact that you can able to, while pressing the B button and holding it, basically though, if you see that little sparkle effects, this meaning about the fact that you're in complete charge for the sake of the forms of trying to use the actual spinning technique. So this will be handy though, especially noticeable if you're trying to deal with the forms of those enemy counters, as you can see. So, I digress. So, not much else I can talk about personally, apart from the fact that, well, I'll probably talk more details about the forms of other stuff I would like to mention at some point during the course of, you know, every single Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, potentially, because either way, though, that, you know, Maxie has already taken a break from Super Mario 3D All-Stars from now on, until when he comes back onto that game until the 1st of June, by that time until summer, for the sake of trying to tackle through Super Mario Sunshine on that compilation. So, but at least at the same time, though, that he only got 2 games left, well, at least technically, like, I don't know, like 4 if you want to count the forms of Super Luigi Galaxy, despite the fact that it plays exactly the same as Super Mario Galaxy, except you play as Luigi the whole time. It's kind of a shame though that there was no Galaxy 2 to be found on the Switch version, which is kind of sucks honestly, because that will be a massive Let's Play to do, but unfortunately though, because of the forms of that, you know what, just managed to ruin everything, so... Anyway though, so let's go ahead and grab the key, and just like before, that you need keys in order to able to progress in certain dungeons and stuff. And also we've got the map, which basically this allows you to able to see the current position you're in, especially noticeable you can able to see the rest of the dungeon, so that'll be useful though, especially noticeable if you actually lost track of yourself on certain puzzle segments or in some particular dungeons for that matter, then that way that will be the very useful item to have, especially with the keys combined as well. So now, as far as for this particular playthrough, as far as this particular Let's Play is concerned, I'm obviously going to be going for the 100% completion, much like the forms of The Legend of Zelda 1. That's basically this meaning about the fact that we have to get all the items in the game, and also we need to collect all of those heart containers, including the new introduction into the forms of the pieces of heart. So, what do I mean by that? Well, we'll point out more details about that during at some point on the next video, because, well, as far as I'm aware, that I honestly have no words to able to say about this, so... But yeah, as far as the comparison from the likes of the Game Boy Advance version of the game than the likes of the Super Nintendo version is the fact that I've noticed there are a few differences between these two versions of the game. Like, for one thing, obviously screen crunch on the Game Boy Advance port, and also that, for what I've noticed on several other Game Boy Advance Let's Players for Zelda A Link to the Past, that they, in some dungeons anyway, I'm most likely gonna have to save it up until later on throughout the majority of the Let's Play, that certain layouts are a bit slightly altered slightly, so as you can see, we actually stumbled across the Burrowing item, which basically this allows you to able to actually just to demolish any enemy if possible, or some cases stun them. So yeah, that would be a useful item to have, especially noticeable if you can't be bothered able to actually just try to do physical sword swing attacks, then obviously you can able to actually use the Burrowing at your leisure. So I believe in this first part right here is the fact that we need to rescue Princess Zelda before anything else will happen. So in this case though, we'll just get rid of one of those knights here. And yeah, we need to deal with this guy right here, which you can either do two different ways. You can either use the jar tossing, or you can able to actually just to keep on attacking him with the sword. But honestly, I always attempt to do the easiest way by tossing every pot as soon as I possibly could. And that way, we are able to get ourselves the big key, which basically this is the master key of the dungeon, and this may open many of those locks as soon as it possibly can. So, yeah, but then again, we'll get into more details about that though, but first, let's save Princess Zelda. Thank you, Pac-Man. I had a feeling you were getting close. Pac-Man, listen carefully. The wizard is magically controlling all of the soldiers in the castle. I fear the worst for my father. The wizard is an inhuman fiend with strong magical powers. Do you understand? Yes. Alright, let's get out of here before the wizard notices. I know a secret path, but first, we have to go to the first floor. Let's go. So now we're able to actually escort Zelda here, but obviously that we're only able to get caught by the forms of several soldiers, so hopefully we'll try to find our way to able to actually get to the actual alternative way, I should say, to that particular safe place. So I gotta say, the actual visuals in this game does look really beautiful looking, especially noticeable how the fact that I will seem to say that this is by far my second favorite 2D Zelda experience, because as far as I'm aware, that most people seem to find this game to be one of the greatest, which that seems very true, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, relatively speaking, it's just the fact that, well, I should probably mention about this as well. Another huge difference between the forms of the Super Nintendo version of this game and the Game Boy Advance version of this game is the fact that on the Game Boy Advance version, somehow that Link managed able to get voice clips, which can either be cringeworthy or annoying at times, especially noticeable if you keep on using a sword most of the time. So yeah, that might be seems a little bit more too much noise to go wrong with. So that's why I essentially going to be focusing on the Super Nintendo version because, well, that's the version I prefer. So, although don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the Game Boy Advance version on my own time though, but god, Link's voice is just endless. Like, it can never stop every time you swing a sword. There's a secret passage in the front room that leads to Sanctuary. I'm sure the old man there will help us. Alright, so we'll just able to investigate that then. So, and I believe this is where we find the, well, this particular throne room, as you can see there. But first off, you can also just manage able to use the sword to able to actually just open up curtains, but nothing inside of those, I don't think. So, yeah, it contains absolutely nothing, so oh well, no big deal, but let's check this thing out. The Ordeal Shelf should open. Do you have a light? It's pitch dark inside, you can't see without one. If you're ready, let's go. Help me push it from the left. Alright, so we'll just shove this to the left, and then that way we're able to actually get this thing all the way to the right, and sure enough, we can able to actually enter in. So, oh yeah, it's very dark, alright. So that is why that we actually got the lamp to begin with, and as you can see on the actual top left corner of the screen, we actually get ourselves the introduction to, well, technically this wasn't the first time they were able to actually feature the magic meter, because that magic meter first introduction to was obviously in Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link, but usually in this case though, one of the hardest Zelda games I've ever experienced, especially how frustratingly difficult that game can be. But I'm sure enough we'll stay tuned for that at some point, maybe in the future, but not now though anyway. So let's just go up, let's go downstairs, so just in case we can able to go into the lower floors as much as possible. And snakes! So hopefully we'll get rid of them, and somehow I keep getting hit most of the time, but luckily, every time you defeat these enemies, much like the forms of how it does it on Zelda 1, basically though, depending on what enemies you defeat, Basically though, you get yourself some random item pickups, such as for instance we have rubies, which are pretty much the currency in this game, much like the forms of how it does in any other Zelda games up to this point, and also occasional heart drops, so that way that you get yourself a heart back, and I think that's as far as I can say about it. Although it does have a different colored rubies as far as I'm concerned. Like, we already know about the fact that the green ones were able to give you just one, and I believe there's the blue ones were able to actually give you, like, I would classify for saying 10 rubies or something, but then again, no, it has been a really, really long time. After passing through these sewers, we will be very close to Century. Let's be careful. Yes, we will be Zelda, especially noticeable that obviously we've actually got the actual lamp, so I think it actually gives you like 10 rubies, I'm presuming, but then again, I wasn't paying attention, so I keep thinking about the forms of, oh hello, we got ourselves the red ruby, which if you grab that, basically though, it actually gives you 20 rubies. Oh, wait a second, I think the actual the blue rubies will actually give you like 5. Okay, I think I totally get the idea about that. At least if I was assuming so anyway. But then again though, it has been donkey's years since we actually did a lot of Let's Plays on Zelda related stuff. So I do apologize for that particular miscalculation with the forms of several ruby grinding. So yeah, I must admit I do apologize for that. So anyways though, so let's go ahead and get rid of those little rats, or mice, as far as that's been concerned with. Yeah, it's just definitely 5, so alright, so I think we are basically done in here, so it's just the fact that we need to double check on most of those parts, which most of the time it can either be hard drops, or in some cases the actual magic meter fill up, so that might be something worth noting for. So, oh, there's a key there, so that way we can able to open up one of the doors, to be more specifically towards the right, so now I suppose another thing I should probably explain about this as well, that in the Game Boy Advance version of A Link to the Past, it also actually contains an extra game called The Legend of Zelda Four Swords. Oh, and before I get into more details about that, you notice with that cracked wall over there? That'll be for later, and there's also another one over there as well, which again, we'll go into those until in a later time, because somehow we don't have any bombs at all so far, and same applies to the forms of bow and arrows especially as well, but hopefully we'll get come across into those familiar items in the future. So it's just at the very beginning of the game basically, so anyway, so we're now on to the first floor, and it looks like that we've almost nearly at the sentry, I'm pretty sure. So, but first of all, we need to take care of those rats before we're able to not only get more rubies, but also just clear them out of the way. So, hopefully we should able to deal just that. Nice. Alright, so I'll just carry one of those pots, and so far it does not contain anything, so that seems pointless. Alright, sentry is just beyond that door. Pull the switch over there. You mean like either left or right? So, in order to be able to do that though, we need to hold the A button down to pull the actual lever, so it could be either be, yeah, I already know about this is, so yeah, you have to hold the A button from this point here, so let's double check on the left. Oh, wait a second, it does not activate the door, but it's an ambush! Ambush filled to the brim with snakes. But that's okay though, because hopefully we're able to get even more rupees for the sake of time for certain items I need to get and all that stuff, so alright, so let's just pull that, and sure enough, after we pull that, we have made it to the Century. Doesn't take that long though. Princess Zelda, you are safe. Is this your doing, Pac-Man? Yes, it was Pac-Man who helped me escape from the dungeon when I was captive the wizard. Said once I have finished with you, the final one, the seal of the wise men will open. Pac-Man, you must not let that land of Hyrule fall into the wizard's clutches. if he releases the seal of the 7 wise men, evil power will overwhelm this land. Before that happens, before it's too late, destroy the wizard before he destroys all of Hyrule. You can do it! You can! I sense that the mighty evil force guides the wizard's actions and augments his magical power. The only weapon pretends enough to defeat the wizard is the legendary Master Sword. It is said that the village elder is a descendant of one of the 7 wise men. Maybe he can tell you more. I will mark his house on your map, but watch your every move. I am certain that the castle soldiers will be looking for you now. I will hide Princess Zelda here. Do not worry. Seek the Elder. Do you understand? Yes. So before we leave the sentry, there is that particular treasure chest on the left. And if we open it up, we get ourselves the familiar heart container. So that way, we're able to increase our health. So, in this case though, we're now on to the 4 heart containers, which, to be expected, that will be come in handy, especially noticeable if you try to take on harder challenges in the game. So, and look at that, there's no raining involved, so yeah. And right off the bat though, we've come across into a ferry right there, which if you somehow obtain a ferry, it actually gives you a lot of hearts back, so, or in this case, refilled your health, so that's what I meant to say for this point. So right off the bat though, we exit out the sentry, and if we double check on the map quickly, we need to head over there, right where the red cross was. This meaning about the fact that we need to head there next, because, you know what I mean, because of how the fact that it's all about, like, the objectives, or, I don't know, it has been a long while since I actually did done some commentary, you know. So, I digress. So, before we end this off, I need to able to grind more rupees, and son of a biscuit, I keep on getting owned by that soldier. But, thankfully though, we've hopefully trying to... Can you die? Thank you. So anyways, I think suffice to say we'll end things off at this point right here, so join me next time on Let's Play of The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. And that is the fact that we'll go ahead and find one of the elder descendants or something, so we'll tell more details about the Master Sword. So I'll see you guys on Friday. Later, fellas.